today I wanted to tell you a story about how my very precious $450 bike got stolen and how the Lord restored to me an even better bike. Now, before I tell you the story about how it got stolen, I want to give you some background information. I've always loved bike riding. I loved it as a kid. It gave me such a sense of freedom. I loved it as a teenager, and that love of bike riding went into my adult years. Now, I haven't always been able to afford a good bike, but I've always ridden whatever bike I had. But when I turned 55 years old, I thought, I'm buying myself a good bike. I deserve it. And I went shopping and I found a bike on sale for $450 and I bought it. It wasn't perfect, but close. Now let me tell you how it got stolen. Now I live in a neighborhood that has at-risk kids, and when I hear them in the alley playing, I thought, wouldn't it be great if they all had bicycles? I just loved it when I was a kid. I know they would too. It would give them something to do with their summers. And so I found donators and I got a bunch of bikes and I gave them out to the kids for free. I handed out about 100 up to this point. And then, here, let me tell you how it got stolen. I went out to my garage to go ride my bike and it wasn't there. Now, I had just seen it 15 minutes before that, so I knew it had just gotten stolen. So I went into the alley to look for somebody who perhaps had taken it. Found a child, and I asked her if they had seen anybody, and they said, yeah, I saw a kid, and she knew who he was. And she told me his name and his address. He was about a couple blocks away. And so when I got to his house, it was probably about a half hour since the bike had been stolen. I knocked on the door, and they told me that he was already at the jail for something else. I thought, oh my goodness. So off to the jail I went to see him, to ask him if he'd stolen my bike. Well, when I got there, he recognized me and I recognized him. And he's about a child about 10 years old, maybe 12. And I asked him, did you steal my bike? And of course he denied it. And I had a choice to make. I could get angry or I could minister to him. And I chose to minister to him and leave the results of getting a bike back to the Lord. But anyway, I said, honey, look where you're at. If you don't change your ways, your life is not going to look great. It's going to look this way from now on. You've got to change your ways. Said a few more things. His mom came in and said hi to her, and then I left. And I left sad for him, sad for me. Well, I looked all around. Maybe I thought the bike got tossed. I never could find it. Now, here's what I did. I went to prayer. There's a scripture in Malachi 3 that says it's about the tithe. And to those who tithe, God promises that he will prevent the pests from devouring the crops. Now, crops, we're not farmers anymore, but what that means is my goods. And so I've prayed this prayer before. When anything ever has gotten stolen from me, I said, Lord, you promised that if I tithe, that you would protect my goods. Something got stolen and I need it restored. And so that's how I prayed again this time. This time I said, I'm not taking anything less in value. I want the same value returned. I was hurt and upset. Anyway, here's how that worked out. Somebody had offered me a bike from their garage, and I asked about it, and I said, no, I'm going to wait until see it. You could tell it was just a throwaway bike, and I said, no, that's okay. I'm going to see if my other one shows up. Well, the next day, my sister called and told her that my bike had gotten stolen. She goes, Barb, let me call you right back. And she hangs up. And she does call me right back. And she goes, Barb, do you remember that bike I had years ago? It was a really good bike. Do you remember it? I go, no, not really. And she goes, well, I had given it to my daughter, and I was just talking to her 5 minutes before you called, and she had just told me she had bought a new bike, and I called her back to see if I could get the old one back. Are you interested? I go, I don't know, Mary. I'll look at it. And so she brought it over a week later. All I can tell you is by the time I got done riding up and down the alley in that bike, I was thanking the Lord that my other one had gotten stolen. This one had a shorter frame, higher handlebars, a softer seat. It fit me perfect. I would never have believed that the Lord could ever restore a bike of equal value, much less a better bike, but that's just what he did. I'm Barb Keisman, and you've been listening to Dare to Dream Once More.